It was a cold, gray evening in the heart of the city. A light drizzle slickened the streets, turning the asphalt into a glossy mirror that reflected the dim city lights. People rushed past each other, heads down, faces buried in scarves and collars, avoiding eye contact as though even the slightest connection might unravel their fragile lives. Amid the hurried chaos, an older black man sat hunched on the steps of a grand building. His tattered coat offered little protection from the biting cold, and his hands, cracked and trembling, clutched a battered cardboard sign. Written in uneven scrawls were the words, "I just need $1 to eat." The man's eyes, though weary, held a flicker of quiet desperation. Suddenly, a sleek black limousine pulled up to the curb, its polished surface gleaming like a shard of obsidian against the dull backdrop. The doors swung open, and out stepped Barron Trump, a powerful businessman with a dazzling, almost blinding smile. His tailored suit screamed wealth and authority, each step he took radiating confidence. His gaze swept over the scene, cold and detached, as if the people around him were nothing more than fixtures in a world built for him. As Trump walked toward the entrance, the homeless man mustered all his strength. Extending a trembling hand, he called out softly but with determination, "Sir, can you spare $1?" Trump stopped in his tracks. His face twisted into an expression of disdain, his sharp gaze locking onto the man as though inspecting something unpleasant. He turned fully, towering over the seated figure, his voice icy and cutting. $1? And what makes you think you deserve it?" The words landed like a slap, silencing the whispers of rain on the pavement. The homeless man looked up, his eyes a mix of hope and trepidation. "I'm just hungry," he said, his voice steady but strained. Trump sneered, his smile warping into a grimace. "Hungry because you don't work," he snapped. "Hungry because you've done nothing to earn anything in this world. People like you sit around waiting for handouts. Do you think I built my empire by begging?" The crowd that had begun to gather froze, their silence amplifying the tension. The homeless man's voice quivered, but held firm. "I've worked all my life, but the system—" "The system?" Trump cut him off, his tone growing louder, more venomous. "The system works for those who work for it. You're just a lazy bum looking for excuses." Each word felt like a lash, striking the man harder than the cold ever could. His shoulders slumped, his hands falling to his sides. The murmurs of the crowd remained just that, murmurs. No one dared step forward. Trump's voice dropped, low and menacing. "Maybe you should ask yourself why people like you always end up at the bottom." His words hung in the air, sharp and suffocating, as he turned and walked toward the building. The homeless man was left sitting in the cold, his gaze fixed on some faraway point. Yet in his tired eyes, there remained a tiny spark of hope, fragile but unyielding. As Trump reached the door, he paused. Something in the man's voice made him stop. "I'm sorry," the man said, his voice trembling but sincere. "I didn't mean to offend you. I just thought you might—" Trump spun around, his annoyance clear. His steps were deliberate, each one echoing loudly on the wet pavement. "Thought what?" he demanded, his tone dripping with contempt. "That I'd share my success with someone like you?" The man's eyes dropped. "I thought you might understand. You've been successful, and I—" Trump laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Understand? Look at you. You can't even take care of yourself, but you think you deserve help? You're weak. That's your problem. Weak people stay at the bottom because they don't understand how the world works." The homeless man tried to respond, but his voice faltered. He whispered, "I've worked hard, all my life." Trump dismissed the words with a wave. Excuses, circumstances, the system, always someone else to blame. Maybe it's just you. Maybe you're not good enough. The man's eyes filled with unshed tears, but he managed to hold his ground. "It's not as simple as you think." "Of course it's not," Trump snapped, his voice sharp as steel. "Because you made it hard for yourself. Life isn't fair, and no one owes you anything. The sooner you accept that, the better." The businessman turned again, leaving the man in the rain-soaked gloom, surrounded by a crowd too afraid or indifferent to act. And yet, as he disappeared into the building, the homeless man remained seated, a faint glimmer of resilience flickering in his eyes, a spark that, despite everything, refused to be extinguished. The silence around him was deafening, a cruel reminder of a world that had turned its back on him. Yet, deep within, a faint spark remained, a flicker of resilience that whispered even in the darkest times, light could find its way. But that light felt impossibly distant. Trump, meanwhile, had already entered the building, basking in a fleeting sense of victory. Yet something inside him demanded more, a hunger to reassert his dominance. Turning abruptly, his leather boots echoed on the marble floor as he headed back outside. The homeless man was still on the steps, rain cascading off his worn coat, pooling at his feet. He sat with his head down, his posture even more defeated than before. Passers-by ignored him, their brief glances dripping with indifference. When Trump stepped back onto the street, his presence was magnetic. People slowed, sensing the growing tension. His voice cut through the downpour like a blade. "You're still here?" Trump sneered. "I thought you'd be gone by now. Or have you decided these steps are where you belong?" The man didn't look up. He couldn't endure another round of humiliation, but he also had nowhere else to go. Trump's silhouette loomed over him. "You know what's funny?" Trump leaned in, his voice dripping with venom. "People like you always think you're owed something. You think it's our job to take care of you. But the truth is, you're parasites, dragging us down, ruining our cities, destroying what we've built." The man's head lifted slightly, tears pooling in his eyes. "I never wanted to take anything from anyone," he whispered. I just want to survive." Trump laughed, cold and harsh. "Survive? That's all you know how to do. You don't even try to improve yourself. You just wait for someone else to do it for you." "Well, let me tell you something. No one will. No one." The crowd around them thickened, their murmurs rising. Trump thrived on the attention. He gestured to the onlookers, his tone taunting. "Look at him. Always an excuse, circumstances, the system, inequality. Just words for the weak. This is the result of their choices. They put themselves here." The man tried to speak again, but Trump cut him off. "You think you deserve anything? You have no rights. You never did. This world belongs to those who fight for it. You'll always stay right here." The man's shoulders trembled, the rain mingling with his tears. But as the crowd whispered louder, he did something unexpected. He looked Trump in the eye. His voice, quiet yet unwavering, broke through the chaos. "I don't know why you hate me so much," he said, "but I won't give up." Trump recoiled slightly, his irritation visible. "You won't give up?" he mocked. "We'll see about that." He spun on his heel, his footsteps echoing down the wet street. The homeless man remained on the steps, soaked to the bone, but in his eyes was a spark, a glimmer of change. Trump reached his limo, but something made him pause. Turning sharply, he marched back. "You think I'm done?" Trump barked. "You think this ends with you sitting here, playing the victim?" The man raised his head slowly, his eyes weary yet deep with an emotion Trump couldn't decipher. "I'm not pretending," the man said. His weak but steady voice held something unexpected, a spark of defiance. Trump sneered. "People like you always pretend. You exploit our kindness, blame us for your failures, and then dare to ask for handouts. You're why you have nothing. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. A voice, faint but resolute, called out, "Maybe that's enough." Trump froze, his gaze sharp. "Enough? Are you telling me what to do?" The speaker shrank back, but the crowd's whispers grew, tinged with disapproval. The homeless man's voice rose again, calm but piercing. "You talk about earning a place, about strength, but what have you done to earn yours? Humiliate others? That's not strength." Trump faltered, his retort caught in his throat. The crowd's whispers turned into murmurs of agreement. Then, from around the corner, a man appeared, a commanding figure in a sharp suit, his presence radiating authority. The crowd hushed as he approached. Trump's confidence wavered. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice brittle. The man stopped before Trump, his eyes piercing. "Someone who believes this has gone far enough." His words, though quiet, carried undeniable power. All eyes turned to him, the homeless man included, hope flickering in his gaze. In that moment, the tension broke, leaving only the possibility of change. The crowd was restless, their whispers rising to a hum of curiosity. The man in the suit stepped forward, his voice calm yet piercing. "Are you a self-made man? Or did you simply take advantage of a system designed for people like you?" Trump's face flushed red, his fists clenching. "You know nothing about me," he barked. "I know enough," the man retorted, his tone steady. "I see it in your every word, your every action. You're afraid the world will change." The man in the suit leaned closer to Trump. "Your strength is an illusion," he said. "Real strength is seeing people as equals, and it's no longer on your side." Trump's usual arrogance faltered. He shouted desperately, "Are you all crazy? You support him? A nobody?" The homeless man didn't flinch. His voice was quiet but firm. "Yes, I am nobody, but that doesn't mean I don't deserve respect. That doesn't mean I don't have the right to live." The crowd roared their approval, voices calling out encouragement. "We're with you. Don't give up." The man in the suit took out his phone, capturing the moment. "This is what the world needs to see," he announced. "This is the moment we refuse to stay silent." Trump straightened, trying to regain control. "This country belongs to the strong, not to those who sit in the dirt and wait for handouts." But his words fell flat. The crowd's disdain was palpable. The homeless man stepped forward, meeting Trump's gaze with unyielding determination. "What have you done for this country?" he asked. "You talk about strength, but who are you without the people you despise? Your power is nothing." Trump stammered, his confidence crumbling. The crowd surged closer, their collective defiance overwhelming. The homeless man turned to them, his voice steady. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but today, I know one thing. We are stronger together. When we support each other, we rise." Applause erupted again, this time accompanied by smiles, outstretched hands, and offerings of food. Trump, who once commanded fear and admiration, now stood small and insignificant. The rain continued to fall, washing away the remnants of Trump's authority. The homeless man had risen, not just from the steps, but as a symbol of resilience and humanity. The man in the suit smiled, nodding slightly as if passing an invisible thread of strength to the homeless man. The crowd encircled him, their support unwavering, while Trump stood on the periphery, his arrogance stripped bare. "You think strength is humiliation," the man in the suit said, his voice sharp. "But that's not strength. That's fear." Trump's breathing quickened as the truth settled over him. He tried to speak, but his words faltered, drowned by the crowd's growing defiance. The homeless man, once overlooked and discarded, now stood tall. "I may be nobody," he declared, "but together, we can be everything." The applause swelled again, a tidal wave of unity and hope, as Trump stumbled backward, his power dissolving like mist in the rain.